Okay, so I'm going to start now. So again, thank you everybody for coming out today. My name is Joe Levija, and today's presentation is going to be discussing mechanical systems with the MEPPP, which is the MEP Productivity Pack, in VDC, uh, Virtual Design and Construction, um, from the contractor side. Okay, and again, my name is Joseph Levija. Here's some brief information about me. Graduated with an associate's degree in drafting and design technologies. I've also been in the industry since 2015, and I've got a variety of a different background that includes design side and contracting side with a little bit of manufacturing in there. And then there are a couple of notable projects I've worked on in the past. And today, what we're going to be discussing a little bit within this webinar is going to be taking the existing mechanical Revit model from your engineers and applying the MEPPP or MEP Productivity Pack content to it and setting up that model for your uh, current VDC project that you'll be working on. So, and just kind of a brief piece of information on doing some of this. Um, when we start talking about the VDC models overall, something that we have a discussion more often than not when we start up a project is going to be, are we going to use the existing engineers model, or are we going to use the uh, use our project startup template from the MEPPP and then basically remodel everything in that current project, and then just link your architect model, link any of your existing models, and link the other discipline models into your current mechanical model. Now, something else I'd like to talk about just a hair is when we're looking into how we plan on handling a lot of this, because let's face it, right now we're seeing models kind of all over the board. Sometimes we'll receive a model with all MEP in one model. Other times we will get just a mechanical model, just a plumbing model, just an electrical model, so on and so forth. Um, and then on other occasions, when we do receive some of those models, a chunk of them have come across where they may not be fully finished, fully designed, or you may have gotten a model from someone who's maybe newer to Revit versus experienced. So those are all pieces of information that you'll want to think about as you go along and figure out, am I going to recreate everything, or am I going to use what's here because we've got a deadline of tomorrow and we've got to get stuff out and start getting these shop drawings and fab drawings out. So that's something just to kind of think about, and that's what we'll discuss a little bit today. Some of our learning objectives for this webinar are going to be to just discuss what to transfer from our MEPPP model, the starter project, over to our current model. We'll also discuss content to be loaded into the project, and then what we can purge out of the engineer's model to help save with some of that room, because some of those models, depending on who the engineer may be or how big the project may be, can fluff up quite a bit, and we still have to be able to open the model at some point. So especially on some of these significantly larger projects. Okay, so now it is time to jump into Revit. All right. And here we go. Okay, so I am currently in Revit. So this here, this project that I pulled up in Revit, this is our MEP productivity pack starter project. So this is key to starting with some of these models that we've seen come across from other engineers, consultants, whoever may have put the model together before the project got out of design. So, as some of you guys aren't aware, what the MEP productivity pack brings to the table for a lot of firms is it starts the conversation of standards, and it brings over that set of standards in order to really not have to sit there and develop back-end standards for the duration of a year or so, which is what I've come across time-wise in order to put a decent set of standards together. This also comes along with a whole library of content. So if you're looking for Revit families, if you're looking for schedules, if you're looking for share parameter files, one thing we offer that we put together very well is a set of share parameter files. And our share parameter files are literally based upon the type of families we built and the parameters we built within our families. And our reasoning behind that is because we built a series of schedules as well, in order for us to be able to properly tie our family and our parameter into our schedules. So that's something that helps out tremendously, having a nice share parameters file here and a nice setup with the MEPPP starter model and modeling and everything along those lines. And the benefits for VDC in general are having those standards already set to go, especially considering a lot of contractors these days are jumping into Revit because we're being pushed into that world. And we don't have time to develop. Projects in the construction world definitely move a little bit faster than quite a few of the design projects I've been on in the past. So certain things that we kind of take for granted with the MEPPP that don't necessarily come out of the standard, out of the box Revit will end up being some of those things like duct systems. So these are going to be some items that we're going to pull across today that we don't necessarily have to worry about setting up on the fly or utilizing the engineer's setup of duct systems that may or may not have been put together to what we need for the level of detail we're going into. So just want to kind of go through some of that. So if you have any questions on the MEP productivity pack, or if you have more of an interest, you're more than welcome to give us a call at any point, and we can definitely talk about some of that information. That's been something that quite a few firms have been kind of jumping into, and I've been part of firms on the engineering side and firms on the contractor side that have adopted the MEP productivity pack specifically because it answers questions right there in the now that we don't have to worry about, such as standards, such as some of these duct systems, and then all the families and schedules that come with that. So now to kind of go into what we're looking at here. We're going to look at kind of what options that are out here with the transfer project standards. So I'm going to go look at some of the models I currently have. So this is going to be right here. This is our architectural model. that we're looking at. We're always going to start with an architectural model, and then from the architectural model, we're going to move to the MEP model that's out here. So we'll get those two models. These will be kind of standard of what comes through from our engineers, so, and our architects. So this is going to be what we get initially within that first file share to start and kick off one of these projects. Okay, so and you can see here that when kind of looking at this MEP model, looking in a project browser here, it's got mechanical, it's got electrical, there's plumbing, we got IT, we got all kinds of stuff that's floating around here. Okay, so and this model here with all this extra stuff is going to blow up. Something else that we discuss as well when it comes to working with larger models such as an MEP model versus a mechanical model are questions that we have to ask ourselves. If we're the mechanical contractor, or for instance, there's other scenarios where if we're the coordination consultants, so we're the company who was hired by the contractor to do all the BIM work for them for multiple disciplines. The big question that comes up, do we need to separate our models? And from an MEP standpoint, if you're doing, for instance, with this project, I did mechanical and I did plumbing. So I did all the coordination for both systems for this project. However, the information from the GC came back that they wanted models separate. So just about, I think all with exception of one VDC project I've worked on, models had to be separate. And they separated everything out and color coordinated for whether you're on BIM 360 Glue or you're in Navis, they color coordinated accordingly and all kinds of stuff in that aspect. And that was cause for why they were looking to separate out the models. So in this case, we ended up taking an MEP model, so all three, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and then had to essentially turn that MEP model into its own specific model. So we now have a mechanical model, we have a plumbing model, and then we receive model updates from the electrical consultant who is doing all the BIM work for whoever the electrical contractor is. So, and in this case, what you're seeing here, this is what the model kind of turned into. So we brought this model over and we adjusted some of the stuff that was color coordinated a little bit differently and had different settings and stuff, which you can see here. We've got multiple colors floating around for all of our ductwork. So we went through, brought this over. We started to kind of clean things up a little bit. And to clean things up, the first thing we went through and we did after linking all our models in naturally was went to this transfer project standards. Okay. Now with transfer project standards, we've got a couple options here. If you don't have that project linked into your current Revit model that you're trying to build and set up, then what you'll need to do is in that same instance per se of Revit being open, you'll want to open up that MEP productivity pack starter project. So in this case, that's what I did. So once I've gone to, I go to manage, go to transfer project standards, and that's how I get to this screen here. And once I get into this screen, I go and I choose which model that I want to copy my standards from. So in this case, it's going to be the MEP 19 MEP Productivity Pack Starter project, detached from Central. because that's the MEP productivity pack model that I'm going to pull all my standards from. So in this case, we're working with strictly more on the mechanical side of the world. So I like to start by checking none and then selecting specific items that I know I'm going to need. So in some cases, these are going to be considered your standards. So some cases I'll see arrowhead styles. That may be something that I want to follow through. If we've set something up special, or if the engineering firm comes with a lot of out-of-the-box stuff where a lot of that stuff is not correct or current or something like that, those are the first things that I start to do. Look at this, the arrowhead styles. I always like to bring my browser organizational from the MEPPP just because it's easier to understand and there are other options in there as well. Some other things that I like to bring over as well and that I bring over consistently would fall more along the lines of all my duct information here. So duct insulation all the way down to duct types. I'll select those specific items because with the MEPPP and how that was set up, that wasn't just set up for design or for contracting or for fabrication or for manufacturing. This was set up to help encompass that coordination from the start of a project all the way through turnkey. So those things that we think about in the contracting world that they don't think about in the engineering world, that was something we thought about and we implemented in the MEP productivity pack. And then those items that are not in the contracting world but are in the engineering world, we got those items incorporated as well. Yes, there were some conflicts, but with the conflicts, we added everything needed for both industries, essentially. So now some other things that I like to bring in, fill patterns, filled regions, a whole slew of filters, flex duct, and flex pipe settings. Then also my fluid types, because with mechanical comes piping. Hydronic piping is big, especially, I mean, if you're showing a whole hydronic piping system coming off your VAV boxes and in and out of your air handling units and stuff like that. Fluid types are already added within this specific model here. So, and then there's a variety of other things that we bring in that are more standardized items that I like to bring across and that I normally bring across, which are going to be, I'll keep my level types, that way those stay consistent, line patterns, line styles, line weights. I bring materials across because with the next level of coordination and the next wave of Revit, we're starting to see turning a VDC model into a facilities model at that point. So that way, for any of your fire alarm, some of your security stuff, and those different panels that are starting to come out, materials can be something that we pull off of in the near future. And it's something that we think about within our design as well. So I'll bring those across because some materials are called out within some of our families. So, and then the mechanical equipment sets, I'll bring across object styles. Don't necessarily use model text types, and then all the piping information here. So pipe insulation, pipe schedule, so on and so forth. Pipe system types. One thing with the MEP productivity pack that I suggest that when you guys get a productivity pack set up and get your starter model set up, go on and set your print settings up. That way you can bring that across as well, and it's already in your starter project. That way you don't have to worry so much about it, and you've already got those things kind of put together. So And then section types, because we'll be using a lot of sections. What else do we have in here? So, and then something that's key are going to be view reference types and then overall view templates. I like to bring view templates across because the MEP productivity pack takes view templates to a whole new level of how they do things, and having predetermined, pre-set up view templates makes my job 1,000 times easier when I'm setting up this project. And when I start to bring that stuff across, what will happen there is I can duplicate a view, apply my template, and if it needs to go on a sheet or something along those lines, I can pop that on a sheet and we can be up and off at this point. So those are some of the items that I like to bring across. This is more or less what I refer to when I talk about standards and bringing certain items across specifically. These are what sell this product. These are what helps to handle that whole ordeal when we talk about saving time, being able to bring this stuff across from the snap of a finger. So this is how I tend to start out a lot of my VDC projects. In this case, I've worked this project, so I'm going to overwrite all these options out here. So overwrite. And while that's coming across, alrighty. Okay. And it's taking a second to bring all that across. So the next thing that we're going to do after getting some of our basic options transferred over, the next thing we're going to discuss is going to be looking at bringing in content, okay? And when we talk about content, what I'm referring to is what families do we need to bring into the model and so on and so forth. So depending on what you're receiving from your engineering firm, that can be a make or break situation. Especially, I mean, if the system's put together decently, you won't necessarily have to worry about bringing in a bunch of items like mechanical equipment such as VAV boxes, air handling units, and then all of your dampers and your diffusers and stuff like that. But if you receive a project where you're struggling to make heads or tails of what they have for families, like somebody decided that they wanted to create a box and call that a diffuser with no even attempted orientation of what a diffuser is supposed to look like, or a VAV box is supposed to look like. Those are some things to definitely think about. Now, one thing that's beneficial with how the MEP productivity pack is set up, something specific to VAV boxes that I enjoy is we have VAV boxes in here. We have multiple types, and of those multiple types, the first thing that I like to get with them is I like having the option to swap my control side from my piping side, because that is something that, depending on who the manufacturer of the VAV box is, there could be a premium to keep some of that cost on one side or the other. Okay. Also, something with those VAV boxes that started the project out really well when we were kicking off was having that clearance zone embedded into the family already. So I didn't have to worry about going into said engineering firm's VAV family, cleaning it up, and then adding its own clearance zone. That's already done with what I currently have. So that's something I bring across is some of those pieces of mechanical equipment. And if you've only got 1 or 2 types of VAV boxes in this project, just bring 1 or 2 types of VAV boxes into the project and then scrap out everything else. So that way you're not overkilling your model size. So those are some of those general items there. Also, you'll bring across your starter view, and then you'll want to get that applied. Then on top of bringing the starter view, which actually the starter view is right here in the Manage tab. After bringing that across, what you'll also want to bring across is going to be whatever title block your company is utilizing at that point. My suggestion is to verify with the GC if there's anything specific they're looking for. If there's not, I would use a title block that you're going to put on either your record drawings or your as-built when you start to hand things over. Sometimes they do want the engineer's title block with your logo on it. Other times you can just have your own title block out there. So that's something to think about because you're going to need to produce shop drawings. So producing shop drawings, you're going to end up creating something or having something there. So that's the idea behind that. Other items as well that you'll want to think about will be sheets. So if any of you guys have a detail model or a kind of a model just dedicated to holding sheets, schedules, and details, some type of model like that, that's what I suggest. If you know you're going to be doing this type of project, bring those items across. It makes life a lot easier and a lot faster, especially knowing, I mean, your sheets are already created. You just pop out your views, and with CTC, I mean, you got View Creator with your BIM Manager or your BIM Project Suite toolbar. That will help save quite a bit of time. And then any schedules dedicated towards what you guys are actually doing. Those are some items you'll bring across. Now, what you can purge out of a model, and my biggest suggestion when purging a model is to not click that Purge All tab in the Manager tab on the toolbar. And that's just because you may end up utilizing some of that information or whatever may be floating around in there, and anything you added will go with it. So purged unused is something I save for the absolute last possible moment. But things to purge out of most of these engineering models would be your details, any linked CAD stuff, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't receive CAD very often in that initial kickoff of handing over the models. And then any other unnecessary linked Revit models. So sometimes you'll hear of design firms where they've got an extra model or two that they're doing for design options. More often than not, that doesn't come across. So you can remove its placeholder. That way you stop getting that pop-up box stating something is not showing up, and yeah, just take all that stuff out of there, purge all that, and then anything else related or unrelated per se to the VDC model in general. So once you get all your view templates added in there, and get your views created. And then you add whatever filters and stuff like that you need, and all your sheets and stuff. You can wipe out all of the engineering model stuff that just doesn't pertain to you guys. Okay, so and then you can wipe out, yeah, any view templates, any work sets that they might have that you don't need, any filters that they might have that you don't need. You'll know kind of what's what because of a distinct naming convention that we have with all our stuff. Excuse me. So you'll be able to kind of differentiate as you purge some of that stuff out. So those are some of the basic tools that I utilize to start up a project for VDC. Excuse me. So depending on the actual the project and the level of detail or the level of development that you're going for, definitely think about some of these options that you guys are going to utilize, along with how you plan on really making the best of your time. Because let's face it, I mean, my last project I worked on for doing VDC, we had 3 weeks to get a model up and running, get it fully coordinated for 2 systems, and start producing shop drawings, because that's when they were coming in to start installing walls and looking for those main duct runs. So fast as possible and efficiency is key here. Any questions? No? Okay. All right, and I'm just pulling through this model here so I can just show you just a hint of some of what this model looks like after it's been done. If you notice here, oh, you're welcome. If you notice here, just let me make sure you guys are on this model. So I got the model pulled back up. So this is how I've got my model set up here. I've got different stuff for duct systems versus overall. It's got VDC named in front of it. We've got a whole slew of our view templates in here. So I did leave some of the other view templates out here as well. These are the view templates that come with the MEP productivity pack. So you're going to see M_HVAC, ceiling, working, so on and so forth, mechanical, plumbing, stuff like that. So those are some things just to kind of keep in mind. And then I do have a couple other items out here, these _doc and such. That's from the engineer. So I wipe out some of the ones that don't need to be in there, period, and then I keep some of the ones that I may have to reference back. However, before you do any cleansing of a model, you should definitely put together a series of PDF files with all their sheets that you currently saw when you started the project. So you should have a PDF file of what was in their model, just to make sure if you have to look back at something, you can look back. So if you're looking for information on what fixtures need to be in a water closet at what height and stuff like that, depending on who's doing the setup there, you can go back to those P drawings, or you can go back to those M drawings or whatever, and you can actually see kind of what's needed there. So these are some of the prime examples that I have here. Here's a whole series of my different types of filters that we brought across. So, and then we've just added where we needed to add in order to hit some of our shop drawings. So when we get down into our shop drawings here, here's some of our basic ones that we have out here. And then let's go to the other model that I have. I've got a fully more finished model here. This is kind of our finalized model. So we've got a huge series of sheets that are out here that are able to show us exactly what we need, what we're doing, any general notes, stuff like that. And you can start to see what is really what out here. So that way you can deliver the highest level of drawings possible, basically. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, and then while I'm in this point, I'll just show you some of all the different views that we've got created out here that required a lot of that content. So, and if you notice here, when we start talking about setting up the project here, we've got our floor plans, we've got our ceiling plans, multiple 3D plans out here. I still kept some of my views from the architect or from the engineering firm. I've got some of my Navis files here. So if I needed to see certain items and export some of that stuff out, I can do some of that. There's plumbing embedded as well. Just duct work, fully coordinated. Still about as close as you're going to get, but coordinated. And then we've got some stuff that's dedicated more for, there we go, some of our drawings out here. So we've got additional sections and stuff like that. These are what ends up hitting some of our sheets. And this is just by bringing in some of that content, changing it around, adjusting the color, which can be important, coming in here. So based upon whatever colors out there, we've got some of that information already kind of tacked in here. We could see here's all our velocity, some of that information, flow, stuff like that. So we can still kind of use the model with a lot of the duct settings and stuff like that to guide us a little bit. And that all hits some of the schedules that we tend to produce. In this case, we didn't have too many schedules, as they already had separate schedules they were pulling off of on site. But this is how we got to it with this type of startup, and this is what produced this level of drawings here. So, and kind of show you one of the VAB boxes. Here's one of the VAB boxes that we utilize, and here's all the different options that we have for some of our boxes. Notice they're all Titus. Notice that you're seeing right there off the top your clearance zone, some of those specific items. And if you click on the VAB box, you have the opportunity to swap equipment around, which is going to break the model. Yeah, okay, cool. There we go. That broke the model. So those are some of those things that we look to kind of set up throughout. And initially I got a box, so that's why this is a little more defined, and it has my clearance zones, and I can adjust stuff. So that's why I utilize these over my other options. So again, I would like to thank everybody for their time today. If you have any questions, let's see here. So we do have a question. How about if you need an FPB? All right. So when you're referring to an FPB, looks like Lewis, we have a question out here. Fan power. Oh, fan power. So there are options for fan power and auto size, and we can bring that across. There's actually a, so I don't have enough time to really roll through all that right now, but there's a couple webinars on doing some of that auto sizing that is there. We've got in fact, I believe we recently had this question, and I know I was looking through the user manual to find out which page in the manual it was in. So, but there are some of those options. It's give it a page on the manual. Yep, that's what I'm trying to pull up for you right now. CTC. All right, be just a brief moment here while I pull that up. All right, so I'm getting my Bluebeam pulled up here. All right, so in my Bluebeam I'm showing here, it looks like there's some information on it on page 97. Also, if you're looking at it from Bluebeam and you've got your thumbnails out here, it says 103. Yeah, I definitely, I love the MEP productivity pack as well. Oh, you got a blank sheet on 103? Your user manual, is your whole user manual blank? Or is it just that sheet? So I can dive into that here for you. So here's what I'm showing here. Page 96. So this one says page 97. I know they did some adjusting. I haven't seen the latest adjustments, so that's why it could be off by a page or two. But yeah, the MEP productivity pack on both sides of the industry has been very helpful, significantly helpful. It saved a lot of design time, or not design time, a lot of content creation time, and it saved a ton of meetings. And that was big, especially when we're sitting at a 95+% production workload that they're expecting out of us. We just didn't have time to develop. So, and I haven't been to many firms that have a lot of time to develop. So this helps out a lot, and it's just having this stuff done and ready to go so you can hit the ground running has been amazing. Especially when it comes to VDC. When I was working on my last two projects were just crazy. They were expecting a lot of us, and that's how we managed to get things kind of get things set up and get the ball rolling, was to have the MEPPP ready to go, because the engineers they didn't have their models 100% ready, and by the time we received them, the model we had was already late, because we just got the contract kind of last minute. Oh, that was for air terminals. Oh, hang on. But yeah, just got the contract late, so we were already 3 weeks behind. So let's take a look here. Supply diffusers. I think let's see. So Lewis, I'll take down your information and then I will go through and check to see where it's at. I believe we may be working on something for you as well in the hopper here. So on pulling up this information. So I'm going to ask them where they moved it to, because I've got a little bit older of an MEP productivity pack user manual, and we'll get you some of that information. So if anything, you can drop your email address here. That'd be great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the future for future webinars. Our next webinar, or my next webinar I'll be doing, will be going through the plumbing side of VDC in the next couple of weeks. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day.